Welcome to Generation Next Leadership Academy, building dynamic leaders of tomorrow. I am J Loren Norris, and I'm coming to you via video because I am in Dallas, Texas, in the United States of America. But let me say, I am honored beyond your imagination to be a part of this event today. I wish I could look out across the crowd and see all of your smiling faces. I know that thousands of you have given up your time to be here because there's something burning down inside you like a fire that can't be quenched, like a lion waiting to roar, that hungers for the power of good leadership. But along with that hunger, let me take a few minutes to caution you as well. I want to talk to you about the leadership arc. I want you to picture in your mind the rising of the sun as it makes its way through the day to noonday and then sets in the evening. How that sun is so powerful. And in the beginning of the day, when you first wake up, you realize either the sun is shining or it's hiding behind the clouds today. But when it's shining, it makes such a huge impact. You are now in the dawn of your leadership day. The next decade of your life will make a huge difference in who you become. In fact, Charlie Tremendous Jones says it this way: 5 years from now, you will be just like you are right now. With two exceptions: the books you read and the people you hang out with. And I can tell you, looking back on my life, at the time that you are now, when I was in the same age range of late adolescence and young adulthood, trying to decide who would I be when I grow up, I didn't have the opportunity that you have to be in a leadership gathering like today, to listen to people who have wisdom and experience to speak into my life and tell me what good leadership might look like. So I want to caution you in three areas of leadership today. Remember the arc, A-R-C, arc, like the sun rising and setting. And that arc is three words. The leadership arc is about authority, responsibility, and consistency. I'd like you to write those things down. The leadership arc is about authority, responsibility, and consistency. First, let me talk to you about authority. There are a lot of people who look at the leaders of today, those who have made it to the top of the corporate ladder, and they've built great businesses and great empires, and they're moving a lot of money. There are those who look at the leaders of government and politics, and they think, wow, I want to have that kind of position and that kind of authority. But here's the challenge. There's also an old phrase that says, with power comes corruption. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. My caution to you is to remember that while you may gain great, powerful leadership, with that leadership, you've got to not only express authority, you've got to be under authority. If you can't figure out where in your life you're going to develop yourself to surrender to those who will be over you in teaching, those who will speak into your life with powerful words of encouragement, but will also tell you when you're wrong, you might find yourself in a place where your influence has outgrown your wisdom, where your ability to tell someone what to do seems to be way up there because your leadership has grown to this great capacity, but your maturity level, your understanding level has not yet reached that place. Now, I want you to stay excited about leadership. I want you to stay passionate about the idea of being the one in charge, being the one making decisions, being the one inputting all of your knowledge and wisdom. But never presume that because you have the title, because you've reached the highest level in the job or the office or the political landscape, that suddenly you have all the answers. My friend, it's not true. It's simply not true. It's not possible for any one of us to have all the answers. Now, I'm old enough to be most of your fathers. In fact, I have children older than many of you. And yet, I still have mentors. I have people in my life, some older, some younger, some the same age, that speak to me when I'm off track, that listen to things that I say, and they say, don't say that again because what you just said was wrong. You need to change your attitude about this topic. It's very important to understand that you don't have all the answers. And trust me, all the answers don't come with leadership. They don't. It's a lot like parenting. As I raised my children, I remember coming home at the hospital and turning them over, looking for the instructions. There's no label. They don't come with a label. There's nothing that says, don't do it like this and make sure you do this. It's not there. You can find it in a book. You can find it from another parent. But the instructions don't come on the package. Leadership is very much the same way. You can find the instructions in a book or a DVD set or a conference like this. But those instructions are not going to come when the title is handed to you. Just because you get the name badge that says leader or president or governor or CEO or headmaster. Those titles, those positions, those labels, those don't make you any wiser. Age doesn't necessarily make you wiser. If that was the case, we wouldn't have so many old fools. I think you can agree with me. But it is absolutely critical in your leadership growth that you take the time to find those people around you who will tell you the truth when you've lied to yourself. The people who will say to you, you can't do it like that. You will hurt other people. You can't do it like that. You will bring the demise of your own business or your own government about. You need to find people whose authority is over you that you will allow to speak into your life. And then you'll see your authority grow. Let me tell you one other secret for many people. They haven't figured this out yet. I'm going to give this to you as a secret word. Authority is best expressed and multiplied when it's given away. Think about that for a minute. When you have authority as a leader and you delegate that authority to the people around you, it explodes with power. It explodes with influence. It's like planting the seeds of an apple orchard. And suddenly, instead of a handful of seeds, you have an orchard full of apples that all have more seeds in them. When you presume that authority is yours for the keeping and yours for the taking, it will begin to die. It will be like eating the apple and the seeds, and you got nothing to grow from it. It's mighty important to you in the leadership arc, now in the dawn of your leadership, that you find authority figures in your life that will invest in you, that will speak to you the truth, that will tell you when you're off course, that will tell you when your ego is bigger than your opportunity. Speaking of opportunity, I want to move to point number 2. I want to talk to you about the R in the arc. This will be at the noontime, the middle of the day, the highest point, the hottest point of your leadership. The R comes in, the responsibility. See, there are many people who look at leadership as an opportunity. And yes, leadership is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to be the boss. It's an opportunity to be in charge. It's an opportunity to make more money. It's an opportunity, if you're not cautious, though, to let corruption own you. When corruption owns you, you're going to find yourself in a place where you're not responsible for your own actions. And so what happens with that is this strange combination that you see a chance to climb a little higher on the ladder, to use your leadership skills, your communication and your bearing and your position and your title, to put a little extra money in your bank. Yeah. To take something maybe that you can get away with it because no one's going to hunt you down. Well, because you're the leader. No one's going to give you a hard time for taking it back. And so there's this scale where you've got to balance these major opportunities that your influence will bring about. It happens all over the world. You've seen them, men on trial, men whose leadership authority took them to a great place, a high place of honor, and then they traded that honor for some more money. They traded that honor for a little more control. They traded that honor to manipulate a part of society or a business deal or a government transaction. And as they make that trade, their opportunities may go up and the responsibility goes down. As your responsibility goes down, the arc of your leadership begins to grow dark. Now, what would happen? What would happen if you were the leader in the prime of your day? You were the leader in the highlight of your day, at the brightest time of the day, at the hottest time of the day, when the sun is at its highest and you're at the highest peak of your leadership opportunity, and your responsibility collapses. When you've been found out that you've been embezzling money, that doesn't do you any good. And it won't raise your leadership level. It won't raise your influence level. You might end up in jail. You have to be responsible with the authority that you've been given, so that at the noonday time, at the hottest time, your opportunities and your responsibilities are balanced. What you could do and what is right to do may not always be the same, but you've got to weigh those things in the scale. You've got to hold yourself accountable, because sometimes the leadership position that you are acquiring will allow you friends who are okay to let you get away with the wrong thing. Yeah, they will. In fact, they'll step in behind you and say, hey, if you're gonna embezzle that a little bit, maybe I could get some. If you're gonna take that bribe, why don't you share? If you'll share, I won't tell anybody. In fact, I will make the bribe sweeter if you make sure you cut me in on some. I was listening to a gentleman talk about another country, and he was talking about them building a hospital and how the governor had taken $1 million bribe from the contractor. But the contractor had taken $1 million bribe from the people who were building the hospital. They bribed both the contractor and the hospital. And then they found out that the head administrator of the hospital had been bribed by the people who wanted to build the hospital, all the investors, to make sure that he built the relationship with these people. Now, is that leadership? Well, of course it is. If he wasn't in charge of the hospital, if he wasn't in charge of the construction company, if he wasn't the governor of that area, then none of those bribes would have been important. In fact, they wouldn't have bribed the janitor. See, bribes don't get offered to nobodies. Bribes get offered to people of power and influence. Listen, when you have leadership and you have authority, even if you're under authority, even if you have a lot of people who are under your authority, when you take a bribe, you trade the power of your leadership and responsibility for something that's so fleeting. It would be like trading your dinner for a piece of chewing gum. You will not be sustained by it. It may be sweet in the moment, but it's not going to fill you up, and it's not going to give your body nutrition. And over a period of time, trading your responsibility for opportunity will cost you more than opportunity could ever pay you. So many leaders have risen to the top. So many leaders have proven their ability to persuade. They've gotten the best bribes. They've gotten the highest positions. They've been able to put themselves in positions of leadership authority as the governor or a regional leader, a religious leader, a business leader, an educational leader. And through that influence, through that authority, they've been able to change the hearts and minds of many, millions of people. Now, there are those leaders like Nelson Mandela, as an example, whose ideas, whose influence was so tremendous that other leaders who were already in authority, were threatened by who he is. Young men, that is a power you possess. Because you're starting so early in your life, learning the leadership skills that will change your life and change the world around you, you will become a threat to people around you. You will become a threat to leaders who have been in position for a long time. You will become daunting to them. Stand firm in your responsibility. Be the person you were made to be with powerful integrity. Rise up and lead change in a positive way, not for your own selfish gain. Remember those people that you're sitting next to today. Take a moment, look around you. The one on your left and the one on your right, years from now, should your success be greater than his, will that person still be equally important? Yes, they will. Their human life will be equally important. 10 years from now, if you're running the nation and they're sweeping the floors. And if you forget that their human life is of equal value to yours, if you forget that their community and their children and their children's children are of equal value to you, you will lose the balance of the scale between opportunity and responsibility. And when that scale begins to settle, if responsibility is the lesser, the sun will begin to grow dim on your leadership opportunity. Nelson Mandela held his strength when the world was against him. He held his strength when other leaders saw him as a threat. He held his strength when the world wanted to silence him. And even in prison, he held his position. He knew he was responsible for a nation. He was responsible as a leader, the influence that he had for not just himself, not just the amount of money he had in the bank, not just the title or position on his shirt. He knew that his responsibility level was so high because there were so many lives depending on him. It was absolutely critical for Nelson Mandela to stand his ground when everyone was against him. And I challenge you to do the same. Opportunity will come. Opportunity will hunt you down sometimes as a leader. Opportunity will say to you, hey, give me a little responsibility and I'll give you more money. When that time comes, I want you to look at where you are and the height of your leadership. I want you to balance that scale. And I want you to say, you know what? Being responsible is much more important than being wealthy. Being responsible for the people whose lives I have a chance to influence is so much more important than just having more power. Rather than imprisoning those who threaten you, perhaps you should ask the question, what ideas do they have that I could learn from? What do they know that I don't know? What relationships have they built that I have not? Could I make myself a better person, a better leader, more responsible by having an open ear and an open mind to what they have to say, even if they threaten my leadership? When you're responsible, ultimately, that will be a better position than all the opportunity the world can offer. One more level of challenge in this arc of leadership is understanding that it's real easy early on to follow in the coattails of a great leader, to slip in behind someone who already has world influence, to follow them in their shadows. I don't know if you know this or not, but in America we have a sport we call NASCAR, where several cars get on a track and they drive around in a circle for hours at very high speeds, 200, 300 kilometers plus. And as they drive around in these fast circles, there's a thing called slipping or drafting. And that's when one car will slip in behind another car because they know that that car in the front is moving air around it, and they'll slip in behind, they'll draft in behind that car because they can save fuel. They can build up power. And at just the right minute, they can slingshot around from behind the lead car into the number one position. Because they haven't been working so hard, because their car isn't nearly as tired, because they still have more fuel conserved. And there are people who will do that in your life. There are people who will slip in behind you and follow your authority and your responsibility toward their success. And many of those people are conniving. Yeah, they're manipulative. They'll take things from you. They'll destroy relationships around you. They'll cheat you. They'll rob you because they're looking for opportunity and they don't care about responsibility. The C in arc comes later as your leadership begins to set. When the setting sun is going down and the legacy comes behind you, when that person slips out of the draft and begins to slingshot to leadership. And you're going to find the same thing in your own leadership growth, that you will probably slip in behind someone who's already got a powerful influence, someone who's already making a gigantic difference. And as they are, you will have the chance to step out. In fact, if they're a good leader, as I will expect you to be, they will see you right behind them. They will see the opportunity for you to slingshot to success. And not only will they step aside a bit and give you space to do that, but they'll reach back and take your hand like a runner with a baton and allow you to move forward with that. If you're a great leader, you will do the same thing. Now here's the bridge between responsibility and the sunsetting years. In the arc, that final segment is consistency. It's a tough one. Consistency requires that you make decisions, that you make the same decision every time. That's a hard one. It's really hard sometimes to look at all of the choices and all of the opportunities and weigh them in the balance and then ask yourself, have I always made the responsible decision and not the opportunistic decision? It's real easy to make the opportunity decision. It's real easy when you see that person who's been watching your authority, who's been following your responsibility. It's real easy, rather than stepping aside and allowing them to move into leadership, to kind of drift into their way. So while they're drafting behind you, while they're looking for your leadership cues, while they're following your opportunity, that you're just cutting them off, that you're keeping them from moving forward, that you're blocking their success because they threaten you. Listen, young leaders, it seems right now like the best thing you can do is protect your own leadership opportunity. It seems like the best thing you could do is to advance yourself because no one else will. It seems like if you want to be in political power, if you want to be in corporate power, if you want to run a business, that you're going to have to do everything you can to step on the heads of the little people to get in charge. That's not true. The most powerful thing you'll find in your life is the consistency that says, I have made the right decision for others every time. I don't make decisions that cause other people to fail unless they should. I make decisions that are right for the multitudes, not for myself. I make decisions that are good in the long run as much as the short run. I make decisions that will benefit everyone. But you've got to start that from the time the sun rises in your leadership opportunity, all the way through the responsibility phase at the highlight of the power and influence that you will have as a leader, and right into the consistency phase to build your legacy. Because I promise you this, when that person who's drafting behind you, the one who's been following in your shadow, the one who's been looking at the way you lead, realizes that your sun is setting and their opportunity is coming, John Maxwell's statement, people do what people see, will be proven to be true. And if you have been a liar and a cheater and a manipulator and a moocher, if you have been a leader who has been inconsistent, who has treated one person differently than the other one, who has been unfair, the person following in your footsteps will do no different. And if you find yourself one day in that place where their leadership influences your life quality, where their leadership influences your decisions, where their leadership influence impacts your livelihood, just remember, from the phase of your authority through the highlight of your responsibility to the setting sun of your consistency, people do what people see. The legacy you leave behind, the way you treat people as you lead, is the way you will be treated by the next generation of leaders. You are Generation Next. This Leadership Academy is here to prepare you to change the world. I want you to be excited about the opportunity that lies in front of you. I want you to be excited about the power that you possess. I want you to be excited about the fact that you have taken a step that half the world has not. At your young age, at your most powerful time in life, at your most impactful life, you have more energy right now than you will have at any other time in your life. You have more opportunity than you have right now than you will have any other time in your life. You have more connections, more influence, more friends, more people immediately on your right and left that you can speak into their life positivity right now than at any other time in your life. And the fact that you have taken advantage of that to be here, to be a part of this training, tells me that you are the ones who will change the future. You are the ones who have the potential to bring world peace. You are the ones who have the chance to feed the hungry. You are the ones that could make it all right with the world. But if you don't start by submitting to authority, you'll never have any. If you don't hold on to the power of responsibility, opportunity will eat you alive. And if you can't make those decisions early on, and stay with the right decision time after time after time after time after time after time after time until it seems boring, then the consistency of your leadership will fail you. And the arc from your sunrise to the sunset of your leadership will not leave a legacy that treats you well. It will not leave a legacy that speaks well of you. If you, today, find that mentor, find that leader who will tell you when you're wrong and love you right or wrong, that one who will speak into your life and say, I wouldn't say it like that. You might should think about that a little differently. You might want to change your attitude on that. If you'll find that person, submit yourself to authority. If you will hold on to responsibility for being responsible for all the people whose lives are around you and not just your own selfish gain. And that if you will be consistent in those things, you have the chance to change the world. Go get it.